And this, what happens next? Well, there's a lot of things that happen, but the few things I'm going to share with you guys, it just, this is why I do this, because of, it happened to my mom and I, and there's so many people who go through this, and it just made me, inspired me to want to help others. But
Hey, welcome back to Too Hard, Too Fast, the podcast with strong opinions about things that we may or may not know too much about. In order to broaden perspective.
You might see some blood today, too.
Today we have Midnight Paranormal Society. I almost messed that up.
Dude,
We're not even drinking this podcast, and I already messed it up. Come on, man. Midnight Paranormal Society is with us. Dude, I think we're going to conjure up some stuff.
I think so, man.
I hope not for a second.
Hey.
Hey, what's going on with that? Is that gang stuff or what? We're chill out.
I'm gonna get my mask on.
Get away.
We're going to talk about ghost stuff, and I'm excited about this. These guys are here in San Antonio. We're going to get into it. So sit back, buckle up. Let's go. Too hard, too fast. Boom.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Too Hard, Too Fast.
And now, submitted for your approval of the Midnight Paranormal Society, this is Too Hard, Too Fast podcast.
The podcast of the century.
Right. All right, Midnight Paranormal Society. Is that a name? Are you guys a fan of the Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah, I saw that show on Nickelodeon back in the day.
Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society. We call this story
Well, I don't know if that's when I saw your name, I was like,
Right.
Dude, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Hell yeah. 'Cause that's the name of the people that it's Midnight something society, the Midnight something society. And they're the ones that gather up and
It's on the tip of my tongue.
yeah, no,
Trying to remember.
Hey, this is Too Hard, Too Fast. We don't check facts, but it's something about midnight something.
Right.
And they gather up to tell scary stories.
Friend of the campfire.
Like, the name, I was like, dude, is that a play on that, or did it just happen?
No, it just happened, man. So when I found the MPS, in the process of trying to, put a team together, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to name it, man. All I had was the idea to want to go through the process of building this house, if you will, one brick at a time, and just see how it came together. But when the day came and I went downtown, did the whole paperwork stuff, I was like, man, what am I gonna name this team? And I was like, well, we're always out after midnight. I was like, we're all about the paranormal and helping people, and I mean, it's a society of people. So I was like, yeah, I just go with the Midnight Paranormal Society, and it came together. And at first I was like, man, I wonder if it sounds weird, but no, it just stuck with me, man. And it just came to me, and I went with it, man. That's how I kind of came up with the name for MPS.
I love the name. The colors you guys have too, like midnight goes with everything, but that purple,
right?
That throne behind you.
Yeah.
Cool, guys, right? Like Mike and Robert. I'm sorry, I kind of went too hard too fast. We got Mike and Robert with us.
Yes.
Mike and
Hello,
Robert.
everyone.
Robert is sitting on some kind of like purple throne.
Yeah, dude. Robert's the king.
Yeah, Robert went all out, man.
Hey, quick footnote. I Googled it. It's just called Midnight Society.
Oh.
There you go. All they need is
That
just a
was easy.
paranormal.
Yeah.
There you go.
Worm, you just killed the whole thing. I just said they don't check facts on this shit.
I checked. I didn't want Robert and Mike to call me out. So
Right.
We're calling you out in here.
yeah, there you go.
Fair enough. So how did you get started with Midnight, or actually, what made you want to pursue paranormal stuff? Because
Well,
stuff is
for
scary.
me, yeah, no, definitely. For me, it started when I was a kid, man. This is back in like, I want to say 88, 89. My mom, she had been living in this apartment complex here in San Antonio, near the Marbach and Military Drive area, right? And for anybody who lives in that area,
That's the first problem. Yeah.
right. If you're ever in the area, if you're going down Marbach to Military Drive. You hang a left, and when you go down Military Drive, you're gonna come across on the right side of the road a Catholic church called Resurrection of the Lord. It's like a colorful Catholic church. I lived across the street from the apartments there, and my mom had been living there for a minute before I was born, and of course, I finally came. But what ended up happening was our neighbor approached my mom, and mind you, these apartments are like cookie cutter apartments. I mean, they're identical in every way. They were kind of like the lower end apartments, at the time. And the lady was like, to my mom, can we have my son's birthday party? Because they're good friends. Can we have his birthday party in your apartment? That was like a low key way of saying, can you cook the food for us? You know what I mean? And my mom, being typical Hispanic woman, was like, I'll do it. I'll help. You know what I mean? And so she's slaving away, cooking in the kitchen, all sweaty, tired. And I'm just sitting in the sofa watching everybody have a good time. And the birthday boy, who's now since passed away as an adult, but when he was a teenager, he came in with his friend, and I'm sitting in the sofa. And all of a sudden, I kid you not, I'm sitting there. I was oblivious to a lot of things because I was a small kid. But what ends up happening is a boy walks in. He has something like this like under his arm, like kind of like walking with something in his arm. And then he goes, I have this game I want to play. And the other kids who were there, they're like, well, what game is this? And he says, oh, it's the Ouija board. And bust out the Ouija board, man. I had no idea what it was. I mean, again, I was a small kid. I didn't know. And at that moment, I had the urge to use the restroom. And so our apartment, the living room, the kitchen, of course, everything was in the bottom floor. The bedrooms and the restroom, everything was on the second floor. And so I got up, I walked towards the stairs, and at the stairway, there was a light switch at the bottom and a light switch at the top, if I remember correctly. I flipped the light on. I looked up and I could see in the distance the light on from the top. I head up the stairs. When I go up the stairway, it's like you come up the stairs, there's like a little small, like a landing area, and then it continues to the next like few stairs that are left. When I get to that landing area, the light just turns off, like goes off. And I was like, I looked down the stairs to see maybe one of the kids or somebody was messing with me. Excuse me, and there was nobody there.
Did it look like the light went off or like it exploded?
It just turned off. Like if someone just came in, flicked the switch, you know what I mean? So I looked up at this at the light and it was off, right? I said, I don't care, man. I got to use the restroom. I didn't really care. I was almost there. So I was like, I walk up the rest of the stairs, like 3 or 4 stairs.
This almost sounds like you're like getting ready to tell us your too hard to fast story.
I'm telling you, man. So I reached top of the stairs. To the left is my mom's, my room. I'm sorry. To the right is my mom's room. And then directly in front of me is the restroom. I look to the left, man. And I kid you not, I look to the left and I see, and I was given as a kid, it was passed down to the family. This, imagine like an old school desk chair combo, like they're stuck together. And it was like wood and metal. And the cubbies underneath where you sit, And I was always a chubby kid, so I couldn't fit into the desk. Like I couldn't sit in it because I was a chubby kid. And I see this.
Man, I know the feeling.
Yeah, yeah, I see this full-grown man sitting on the desk, like perfectly fine. And I'm like, all I could think is like, how does he fit there? Not me, So like,
that's your thought. Not there's a fucking guy.
Right. And I'm like, I got to go pee, man. I don't care. So I went to the restroom. Came back out, and then I looked back to my room, and the guy tried to paint the picture for you guys. Imagine he's sitting on the desk. He has one arm like this, like flat on the desk, and the other arm's like this, like his fist under his chin, like kind of like peering out the window, looking at the window. And I don't know if he heard me or what, but he turns, and it was like he didn't make eye contact with me, but he kind of like just glanced at that direction, like if he heard something. And then he turned back, and then I went down the stairs, whatever. And my mom, I guess she found out that there was a Ouija board there. So she, dropped bombs and be like, get the F out of here. And she ran everybody out of the apartment. Take your food with you. Take the birthday cake. Just, it's done. So she's locking the door up. And I said, Mom. She says, yes. I said, your friend's upstairs. She says, friend. I said, yes. And at the time, I was the only child. Now there's 7 of us. But at the time, it was just me by myself.
And how old were you?
Shit, I was probably like maybe like 4 or 5, maybe. I was a small kid, and so we go up the stairs. I'm following, and mind you, the light's still off. We're up the stairs. I'm following her, and when we reach that landing area, the light just turns back on. And we both stop. We look up, the lights on. We continue up the next little bit of stairs. We look to my room, and there's nobody there. My mom's like, "You saw a man?" I shook my head like, "Yes." Man, she tore up the whole top floor to see maybe someone's hiding in the house. Nobody was there. So without knowing, that was like my first paranormal experience with the first spirit that I saw ever, at least that I knew of. And shortly after that, more things happened that I can kind of get into, but that's what kind of like started my journey, if you will. Like that was like it takes an experience to like it's like an action that causes a reaction, right? So it was like the action was me seeing the ghost, and the reaction was it happening more than one time, and then me wanting to become a paranormal investigator.
Damn. So, did you ever see that man again? Or
after that time, I didn't see him again. But what ended up happening, and this is what happens next. Well, there's a lot of things that happen, but the few things I'm going to share with you guys, it just this is why I do this, because of it happened to my mom and I, and there's so many people who go through this, and it just made me inspired me to want to help others. But so what ended up happening was one night, it was about 2 a.m. My mom and I are asleep. My sister wasn't around yet. My sister Jeanette is my co-founder of my team, but she wasn't born yet. And we're laying in the bed, and all of a sudden, I kid you not, man, we heard boom, 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 like someone came, like they're trying to kick door on us, man. Like it was really loud. My mom jumped up all scared. I jumped up all scared, and she took off running. I grabbed onto her, tried to run with her, and we go downstairs. She opens the door, and it was
it's the police.
That's the sound of the police.
Yeah, it was the police, man. It was
shit, for real? I was just kidding, dude.
No, there's two officers, man, and they were like, what, hand on the weapon like this, like they're about to like be a shootout.
Yeah.
And he says, we were called here. There was a man, a woman screaming on the phone that they were being held hostage, and that that if the ransom wasn't paid, they were going to be killed. And my mom looked at them like, are you talking about my apartment? Like someone called from this residence? Yes. And she was like, look, come in the house. Like, I mean, who knows if there were officers or not, but she was like, come inside, you can search the place. I mean, one officer stayed downstairs. I mean, they went through every single closet. I mean, they went through everything. The second one went to the top, he went through everything. They come down, they look at each other like they were puzzled, right? Like, and we said, come here, my mom goes, let me show you something. We didn't even have a house phone, bro. Like we didn't have no phone whatsoever, no phone service, nothing. Wow. And he looked at each other and they go, we apologize for the intrusion. We apologize but we were dispatched. We were called that there was people being held at ransom. That if we didn't pay the money, that the money wasn't paid, they were going to get killed. And so as the officers are walking away, our neighbor who, you always have a neighbor who you don't like, or, someone in the neighborhood, our neighbor, my mom didn't like them because they were like, I mean, just rude people, man. Like, and so they came out. Oh yeah. And while we're awake, why don't you tell your son to stop running up and down the stairs at 2 a.m. And my mom says, what'd you say? Yeah, Mikey. And she points at me like, the dirty finger. And she's like, you keep running up and down the damn stairs. I'm tired of that, whatever. And I was like, and I'm a small kid, and I'm like, wait, and I'm looking at it like, there's no way that's me, because I'm afraid. I was afraid, you know what I mean, to be out at night in the stairway or anywhere. And someone was like, that's not possible, because when I go to bed, he's right there with me. He will not leave my sight. She's like, no, I can hear him literally running up and down the stairs, like touching the wall, slapping the wall. She's like, I could hear the whole thing all night. My mom says, that's not my son. He's always with me. And so, they tell us this. She kind of had like this like scared look, like, oh shit, then what is it, right? So she, just left it alone. She went to her apartment. We went to ours. Shortly after that, the next biggest thing that we kept seeing was.
Wait, was there any chance that maybe like the police got the apartment number wrong and really somebody was being held hostage?
That would have been crazy.
People never got paid.
that would have been crazy, man. They got the wrong apartment. But I don't know, man. And if they did, man, R.I.P. to those people.
Yeah,
they never got help.
But what ended up happening was at the bottom of our stairs, right? My mom ended up putting this curtain up there on, like, I don't know how the hell she hung it, but she hung a curtain there. It was like imagine like a semi-transparent curtain, because every single day, like whenever we saw the TV, because back in the day, the cable that was back then that my mom told me about, it was called Rogers Cable. And so I remember we had the old school box TV, and it had like I guess it was like digital numbers in the front, but it was like you would see the numbers jumping from channel to like back and forth, back and forth. And we didn't have a remote for that TV. And my grandma came over, and I'm watching cartoons, and I remember it would jump from channel to channel, channel to channel. And my grandma was like, cussing in Spanish and stuff, like, what's going on with the TV? Mama says, I think it's the ghost. Oh, what ghost? And of course, dropping some bombs, and so we would my mom at the stairway at the bottom of the stairs. Try to imagine you would see two little feet like peek out of the bottom, the stair. You see 2 feet come out like this, and then come like move back away, or you would see like a hand grab onto the wall there, and then go like this. So my mom we were tired of seeing this stuff. We're scared, so she put a curtain there to block that area. Well, then whenever we would see this thing appear there, not the whole body, but just the hand and the feet, you would see it like literally touching the curtain, like physically moving the curtain like this. And so one day we went to the church across street, that Resurrection of the Lord. And I never forget the priest there. I won't say his name out of respect, but my mom went to him and said, Father Father so and so, I think there's a ghost in our house. We don't know how to deal with it. Can you please come cleanse our house or help us in a way? He says, I'm sorry, man, but we don't do none of that stuff. We don't offer those services. He says, here you go. Here's some scriptures. Here's some holy water. Good luck, pretty much. My mom started crying. She was like, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know. Why us? And we're walking home.
You said this was a Catholic or a Christian or
a Catholic church.
Oh, okay, that explains it.
And she's crying. We're walking across the street. We lived across the street. I mean, if you were to pass by that area now, you'll see the church still there. She's walking across the street and she's crying, holding my hand. And she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel lost. I feel, like no one believes us. They think that we're crazy. And even the priest asked her, are you on drugs? Like, are you smoking anything? Like, he asked a lot of questions that, even now that I have to ask to my clients. Right. But anyways, and she was like, I'm not crazy. I don't do drugs, whatever. You could drug test me. So we walk home in the night, it's already in the evening. We get home and she was crying there. And she's like, I don't know what to do. I feel like, no one believes us. And then she's like, Mikey, what can we do for people to believe us? I was a little kid, man. I had no idea, And then she tells me, I got it. She's like, what if we invite someone to our home or if someone comes over to our house, we won't tell them what we're experiencing. We'll just stay quiet about it. When they come into our apartment, we won't say nothing. And let's see if they have an experience on their own. And that way, if they have an experience, that validates that we're not crazy, that if they saw it, we saw it too, then we're not crazy. So that was the plan. But who would be the lucky contestant to come to our house and experience this, right?
George.
So, George. So one morning,
I will go nowhere near it. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you my stuff.
I'll go, bro. I had a haunted house.
Right. So one morning,
let's hear Mike's story.
so one morning, of all the people to show up, who comes knocking really early in the morning? Can you guess?
A priest. Nope. A drunk guy. Somebody drunk.
The Jehovah Witnesses. You know what I mean?
Oh, for real?
Close to Barney.
Yeah. And
obviously, obviously. Okay, I get it.
They're knocking the door, and sometimes people duck and dodge when they see those people. And my mom was like, "Come inside."
Like from down the corner, you're staring out the window, like,
right. And there were those Spanish ladies, right? They came inside. My mom's like, "Come inside, stay here. I'm making breakfast. I'm making coffee. Don't leave. Just sit here." And I'm sitting at the edge of the sofa, man, at the corner of the sofa, and I'm looking like I'm like Hawkeyes, man. I'm just like looking at the stairway to see for that grand moment when this thing will show its feet or hands. And I didn't want to scream, like, look, and then it disappears, right? So I was like, you know what, let me just stay quiet. And if I see it and I don't blink, hopefully one of these ladies will look at me and look that direction and she'll see this thing. So sure enough, just like clockwork, man, this thing, I looked that way and you see the two little shoes came out. And then all of a sudden you saw two little baby hands, like little tiny hands pushing the curtain like this. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I want to scream top of my lungs, man. Like, look. And the lady, one of them looks at me, looks that way and sees the hands over there. And she says to my mom in Spanish, of course, she says, can you invite your daughter to come sit down with us?
Oh
So
my
we talk about Jehovah or whatever. And my mom says, what do you mean, my daughter? She's like, I'm pregnant right now, and I'm gonna have a little girl, but I don't have one yet. But then who's the kid over there sitting down the stairs? And of course, it's all speaking Spanish, right? But then who's the little girl sitting over there at the stairs? My mom says, if you can get that little girl to come sit with us, I'm gonna grab my son and I'm gonna run out the apartment. She's like, and she goes, and she's like, huh? So she gets up, brave. She gets up and she walks over there. She goes to the stairs. Man, she gets that curtain like this. She rips out like to move out of the way. It was like a like blink of an eye. It just vanished. And she went, ah, like the lady, she screamed. And the other ladies got scared. They jumped up and literally they ran straight out of my apartment, left their booklets there, pamphlets. I mean, they left their purses. That's how afraid they were. And so at that moment, that was like a weight, like bricks or like weights being lifted off her back, because that was proof that my mom and I weren't crazy, that what we were experiencing was a real thing that was happening. And so my mom was so happy. She cried like of happiness, like, she was happy, but then it kicks in like, oh crap, our house is really haunted,
There's something here, yeah.
Right.
And I get that is crazy because you do see that a lot in movies, like, and I always thought it was just like a cop out or like something, like it's in every movie, and like they
Right.
always talk about, oh, the guy's crazy or the guy's on drugs, like
Right.
you said, or
Right.
something. And so I guess it's true. Like, how do you tell somebody that, hey, I see things, like when you say you're like, I think my house is haunted. It's like, nah, you're just seeing things. Because especially, I don't know. I either maybe fear. It's like, nah, don't play. Kind of
Right.
stuff.
I mean, because go ahead. I'm sorry.
It could have been worse. It could have been like the Sixth Sense at the ending with you guys.
Oh man, that would have been crazy.
He's dead the whole time.
Right.
Mhm.
No, but so when we lived there in that apartment, we eventually came to a point where more things were happening, right? I'll tell you one of the last things that happened there before we moved out, because there was a lot of things that happened. We're there for years. I think we're there for about maybe 10 years. We lived there, probably more.
10. The rent never went up or what?
I probably did, man, but I don't know.
I would have been down like 2 years in. I'm like,
Right.
and the rent's going up. Nah, I'm out.
Right. And so one of the things that happened last before we're like, you know what, we're done. My great grandfather, he was dying of cirrhosis of the liver, and he was at the point already where he, the night came. They took him to the hospital because it was already, that was it. He was going, and my mom and I went to go stay at my tia's house. For those who were wondering, there is that, so they're like by what is this school called? Memorial High School, like in that area. And we went to go stay over there, and my tias, which is my mom's tias, they were in the hospital. My great grandfather, and he was already, that's it, he was checking out of this world, man. And before we left our apartment, my mom had some friends. They were from Mexico, and I never forget them, man. I never forget those people. They were such great people, man. She told them, listen, here's a key to my house. Here's a copy of my key to my apartment. You have permission every night before if you can, if you don't mind, go check the apartment, open it one time, look in there. Everything's cool, man. Lock it back up. Okay. And so we were at my aunt's house, and we get a phone call, and she says, she never said Joanne to my mom. Joanne, like, because they're from Mexico. Joanne, it was Wani and Pepe, right? Joanne. And she's like, did you come back home anytime a little while ago and left? Mom says, no, we're still here. And she says, are you sure? She goes, yes. Why? She goes, if that's not you, then someone's having a party at your apartment. And she's like, a party? She goes, yeah. She goes, we're going to go check the apartment like you asked us to. And the music was loud in your apartment. You could hear, like, she was, imagine and I'm telling you guys, imagine when you go to like a restaurant, and now you hear all the noise from all the people talking at one time, like that, all muffled, that they could hear people like laughing and talking in the apartment, like they're having a party.
There's a crowd in there.
Right. And she was like, oh, I guess they're back. Okay, cool. And she goes, Mom was like, no, we're still here. I'm talking to my aunt's phone. And she's like, okay. She's like, can y'all go check? Go open the door. Do you see people? Call the cops if you have to. So the husband, Pepe, right? He what we they go back over there. He don't have no gun, like no weapon. He just kind of goes like just being him. I think he got a hammer or something. He went over there and he put the key into the door, opens the door like this. When he opens it like this, the lights were instantly out.
Oh, wow.
And mind you, as they're walking up to hear the people in the party, having a good time, he put the key into the door, unlocked it. The moment he opened this, lights were off, no party going on, nothing. And he got so scared. He's like, locked it back up, and they went straight to the house, called us. They said there's no one in there. And mom was like, what? So then it happened a few different nights. And so finally we went back home. My great grandfather passed away. And we got home, and right when we were pulling up, they were there you can see them in the grassy area by the apartment, like looking at the apartment. And we're coming out, and they're like, and she says in Spanish, like, look, you can see the party going on. So my mom and we looked that way, and sure enough, you can hear loud music. You can hear like people are partying there, man. I mean, you can hear it. My mom's like, F this. She ran to the door, put the key into the door. As soon as she went this, Wani and Pepe stood back looking at the apartment from the distance, right? As soon as she put the key at this and she turned the knob, they saw the lights shut off by themselves. And she opened the door. Nobody was there. My mom was like, you know what? Game over. We're moving out. So we left. And,
You guys never figured out like what was going on in that apartment or what?
Well, one of the things that we were able to confirm was my mom went years later, man. I'm talking about years later. I was already grown already, but she went just to talk to the apartment manager who still was there to this day. And she's asked her, when we were living there, Mikey saw this man in the room. I think it was a spirit. And the lady finally said, look, I can't be giving this information out, but just so you know, back in the day, there was a guy who was renting before you guys, and he committed suicide in Mikey's room. He hung himself. And that was one of the things that they were able to confirm for us. But I feel like everything else, I'm thinking now that had to do with the Ouija board, maybe, I don't know. But after that time, we moved around so many times. Like my mom was on housing, man. So, instead of staying at one place, years and years, my mom always loved to move. She wanted to move everywhere. So, I lived all over San Antonio, but everywhere we moved, something would happen. Like we would move to a neighborhood, and the first thing a kid does moving to a new neighborhood or go to a new school, you introduce yourself, but the kids would be like, hey, so how was it that you moved into the house in the block that's haunted? How did you move into the house in the block that someone committed suicide? How do you move into the house in the block where someone got killed? Or, something like the most tragic thing happened. And then we started questioning, like, is it bad luck? Is it like wrong place at the wrong time? Are we cursed? Like, what is it? And it was always like that everywhere we moved, man. And I mean, there was just so many experiences. I mean, I could sit here and talk to you days upon days, man, talking about the experiences, but and then the time came. Let me share another experience with you if you don't mind.
No, for real. But
go ahead.
Before you share, like, and I don't know if you're gonna lead into that, but do you think like stuff followed you or something clinged onto you, or is that what you're?
That's a good question, man. I mean, I don't know. I know that my sister Jeanette, she's very gifted. I mean, she has an ability or abilities, and it's like, even as a kid, man, because she's partially, I guess you could say partially blind, where she can't really see that well. And when we were kids, like her vision was so bad, like we'll play hide and go seek or like it, and it'll be me, her, my brother Joe, and we'll be running, man. And I remember sometimes she would run full speed right into the wall. Like, I mean, she'll be running after us, and we would take off and go hide, and she'll run like this, boom, and hit the wall and fall down. We're like, what the hell? Like, how did she not see that the wall was there? You know what I mean? And I guess because she had trouble with her eyes, but you would hear her having full conversations in the room as imagine a little girl, right? Having full conversations with somebody if they're there. And I know sometimes you hear kids talking and playing with toys, but the kind of conversation she was having back and forth, like you could hear her saying something and then responding, and then like it was like a full in-depth conversation. I'm like, there's no way a little girl like that little could be having that conversation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I feel like maybe it's a possibility. I don't know. I'm not 100%, maybe she attracted things because of her abilities, or maybe it was just like, one of those things where I don't know, we had bad luck. I don't know. But
You got to interview her one day.
yeah, she has a lot of stories. I wish she could have been here right now.
Well, I mean, we can always like invite you guys back up.
Oh yeah, definitely.
For
Yeah.
sure. Well, I was gonna
That'd be
say,
fun.
sorry. I think there's a demon inside me right now. I'm just kidding. Sorry guys. What I was, when you mentioned the Ouija board and your mom, was like, nah, get out once you found out. Like I remember having a similar kind of thing. The Ouija board never made it into my house because I was like, hey mom, I don't know what a Ouija board was. So I was like,
Right.
hey, and she like 100% like, no me traigas esas pendejadas aquí en esta casa. It's just like, don't bring that stuff here.
Right.
I don't want anything to do with it. Estás loco, like you're crazy.
Right.
No, do not even play with it. So I've never even touched one, or I don't think I've ever seen one in like
real life.
in real life. Just from that
I have
fear,
one in my
like,
book, but
don't show me,
I can
don't
show
bring
you
that
one.
nonsense in here.
Well, nowadays you don't even need
Hey, don't curse our podcast, bro.
Well, nowadays you don't even need a Ouija board. It's modernized, so we can use your phones to summon actual spirits. I've seen it.
Oh, that's true.
So to just show that this experience, right? So we moved. There's a neighborhood in San Antonio, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, or anyone who's going to listen to this podcast will be familiar with it. But there was a neighborhood called Indian Creek that I moved into off of Five Palms and Old Pearsall Road, I think it's called. And I was living there as a kid, and we moved in the tail end of when it was really bad. Like the neighborhood was really bad, but we moved in right when they were cleaning things up already. And so the street we were living on, I never forget, it's called Sweet Maiden. I never forget that, man. I'll never forget that time. So we were there, and I remember my neighbor. He was so cool. His family was from Mexico, right? He tells me a story that he's like, "Hey, man, one of these days, I'm gonna share with you a story that something happened really bad." I'm like, "Why would you tell me that? Not tell me the story. Just tell me." Like and he was like, next time. I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me, bro?" So I had no idea what it was about, right? So one night, or one day, should I say, it was so like afternoon. It was a weekend. I was laying in my bed, and my brother Joey, he would always do stupid stuff to scare us, man. Like, these jump scares. And I was laying on my bed, and where I'm laying at, my feet are like pointing towards the door, the door's to my right, kind of. And I see my brother crawling from my periphery, right? I see him crawling this on the floor like the army crawl, right? Like he's coming into the door. And I'm like, he's gonna try to scare me, but I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna when he jumps up to scare me, I'm gonna get him back, And I can see him crawling on the ground, coming towards me, about on my corner of my eye. And as he's getting closer, I'm like, when he gets close to him, I'm gonna count down, and then I'm gonna jump up and I'm gonna scare this kid, right? And so I'm laying there, playing it off, and he starts getting closer. And I'm like, 3, 2, 1, and I jumped. I sat up and I went, as loud as I can yell, and I see it like this. And when he goes like this, it wasn't my brother, man. There was a boy standing there in my room looking at me like this, like no sound, like no, like but he was like this, like if I scared the hell out of him. I thought it was one of my brother's friends or something, and then he was about to turn to like run, and when I looked down, what caught my attention, and I'll never forget this to this day, there was no feet there. Like imagine where your ankle's at right here, from like your ankle down, there was no feet.
For worm, that will be cankles for you.
And he runs like this, and it's like he slammed into the wall. It was gone.
Oh my
and
God.
I yelled so loud, I thought I was gonna pass out. How scared I was. I ran. I was a teenager. I run to the kitchen. I'm like, and she's like, slow down. And my heart's racing. I'm like, I'm like shaking and stuff. And what did you see? I was like, she's like, slow down. Trying to give me like a spoon of sugar, like calm down the way that, and I'm like, and as I finally calm down, and she's like, what did you see? What happened? And I explained to her, like I told you guys, and she's like, what? So then I went to my friend. I said, listen, man, I don't know what the hell you're going to tell me that story, but I need to tell you what I experienced. He goes, was it the boy with no feet? Oh my god, man, that and like what the hell? And he goes, okay, let me tell you the story now. And I said, what, man? Just tell me. So apparently, where he lives, the guy, my friend at the time when he was living at, there was a family who lived there before him, and apparently something happened when there was like an explosion in the garage. I don't know if it had to do with the water heater. Something exploded so bad that the kid literally it blew him up pretty much. Like it exploded and like his feet flew, like, ripped off of him. And that somehow he ended up in the street crawling towards my house. And then when he crawled into my yard, that's where he passed. And so that was, what he told me. I don't know how true it was, but I mean, I saw this kid with no feet. So I was like, holy smokes, And so my neighbor, he was like this, he was like I don't even want to say the dad of the neighborhood. Like he was like this, like a big brother that nobody had in the neighborhood, right? And he was an older dude. Like he would watch out for everybody in the neighborhood. Like he was real cool. His name was Roger. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but his brother moved in with him named David, and this dude had a camcorder. That right there, when I saw him the camcorder, when I was in, I was like, you know what? After I saw the Blair Witch Project, I was like, you know what? There's stuff happening here. I wonder if he'll let me use this camcorder. I could record stuff, and that was kind of like inspired me to like the whole documentation part of it, right? So I said, hey man, David, I go, there's a ghost in my house, bro. I saw it. I said, would you be willing to let me use your camcorder? I'll record. If I don't catch anything, cool, man. But if I do, this would be proof of a ghost, man, in my house. He says, don't break my shit, man. Don't break my camera. I said, I'm not. I promise. I'll put a deposit. I'll have $40 cash right now. He's like, no,
And you
I don't
broke
want
it.
he's like, I don't want your money, man. Just take care of it. I said, okay, cool. So I took it to my house. All my friends were like, hey man, can we go to your house and stay the night? You could see the ghost too. I said, sure, man. So we're there. We started watching The Exorcist, right? Just to kind of get into the mood and get things going.
Free gaming.
Right. Everybody got so scared, man. They knocked out and fell asleep. Man, I was the only one awake, me and my brother. And I heard the little ding where the camcorder had finished charging. I said, man, I was ready to rock, man. So I took the camera off the charger. I put the night vision on and I took off walking through my house, man. I'm like, hey, if there's any ghosts here, I would like to talk to you, whatever. And then I went through the whole house. Nothing happened, man. I was like, damn. I went to the restroom. I came out and I'm recording. I see my brother sitting on the sofa to my right, going towards my living room. I said, Joey,
Worm, you look like a ghost right now, Worm. On your camera.
Part of my illusion.
Yeah, what's going on?
I said, Joey, look at the camera. Say hello. He looks at the camera and like he flips me off and I laugh about it. And like say this is the camera here in my hands, right? I'm looking at him, he flips it off and I turn like this away from him, right? That moment I turn like this to the left, there's a freaking like a floating head looking at my brother face to face like this. It's like imagine like and it was so quick. I was like I think if you turn, boom, it was gone. I was like, I know I saw this. So I literally stopped it. I stopped the video, rewinded it, and sure enough, that moment that I was moving away at this, I paused it right at that moment, and it looked like there was like a blue face, like imagine this, like it was glowing, looking at my brother, not like Ghostbusters, like like animation. It was just like it looked like a blue face that was shiny, looking at my brother. And when this happened, I kid you not, bro, I kid you not, in that neighborhood, it spread like a wildfire, man. That I had caught a ghost on camera, man. People the next neighborhood over, Sky Harbor, all the different neighborhoods around the area were like the kids coming to my house. You would hear people knocking on my door. Hey, is this the house with the guy with the ghost hunter? And I was like, what? And they're like, aren't you the guy who caught the ghost on camera? Can we see it? And I'm like, my buddy, it's his camera, but I can ask him, we can, let us see it. And we will go there, man. All these kids would come. I became real popular. Like, hey, they nicknamed me the ghost hunter, And I was like, man, maybe this is my destiny, man. Maybe I'm supposed to do this, And so that was an experience there. But I mean, I've had so many experiences, but that's what led me to the moment where one day I was talking to my sister, who's my co-founder. Her name's Jeanette. I said, hey sis, I was like, remember all the things we kind of experienced growing up, all the ghosts and just, I mean, we saw some crazy stuff, man. I was like, what if we did that? What if we made our own team and we find people like us who've experienced this? And even if they haven't, but they have that passion, the want to help people or better, at least better understand this. That way we can try to eliminate the fear. I think the reason why people fear the paranormal is because of the unknown, not knowing why it happens, how it happens, why me, why this person. So it's like, how can we try to help there be less fear, you know? And so she was like, honestly, she's like, I want to do it, but I'm just not ready right now. I said, why? And she was still in that party phase, you know, like want to just be a person and go party, be young. I did it by myself, man. I started NPS. I had no, I had no idea what, what was going to come from this. I prayed about it, man. I was like, hey, you know what, Lord, this is what I'm meant to do. Like you guide, I'll take the steps, I'll walk, but you guide me, man. Like, and there was times, man, where I prayed, bro. I'm a big believer in prayer. Like I prayed to God, like, can you please help me find people? Cause like, you know what, man, I could easily done this by myself, just a solo person, but I wanted my team to be like, like the way my family is. I have a big media family. I wanted to have a big team, and not just anybody come to my team, but I want people who are going to come that we're going to have my back and me have their back. Because think about this, when things get crazy, man, and you don't have to believe me, but when shit gets real, man, and shit hits the fan, you know who's going to have your back and who's going to run.
Yeah.
And I want people who are going to stick by my side, who are going to have my back. I don't care if the devil himself appears. They're like, Mike, we got you, man. We're here with you. And so I prayed about it, and one by one, man, my team came together, and it was the best feeling, man, when those people one by one came. And then once they were here, just like Robert, it was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And so now, we don't get paid for this, man. We don't ask anybody for anything. People donate to us every now and then, which it helps a lot, but everything comes from our own pocket, and people reach out to us, hey man, my house is haunted. I mean, we've had people contact us who are genuinely experiencing stuff. And we've also had people who, no disrespect to anybody, who they need mental help. It is what it is, but
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, is that like you doing this, and I'm surprised that you don't do it as a business, and in a sense of like getting paid
right.
for going out to meet a client. Like, yes, getting donations is good. I'm glad that if people can. I'm gonna put somewhere all your information,
Right.
so people can donate and help you guys out. But
Yeah.
I think you doing this, it gives the validation. Like at the time when you were experiencing things with your mom in the apartment, and she's kind of like going through like I don't know, to me it almost sounded like she was going into a depression because nobody would believe it.
Right.
And I may be wrong and all that, but just from what I understood.
Right.
So there's other people that are probably going through this. So you being this person that can have that validation, like, I'm an impartial person. I'm
Right.
here to say yes, there's something, or there's nothing.
Right.
I'm here to like give you that, validation, as those Jehovah Witness were there.
Right.
And I'm gonna say that, fucking the curtain stuff. Like, I don't know how. Like I think I probably won't sleep tonight because my mind just like makes things up.
Right.
It makes things like worse. When I shower, sometimes I feel like I don't know why I always think about like, oh, there's somebody standing out there.
The
Right.
psycho scene.
Yes, the cycle. I think that's where it came from. Watching that movie. And so, like, I'm so afraid, like, just that seeing a hand do that, and I hate when my wife does it. Cause she'll do it
Right.
to like talk to me. I'm like, dude, don't do that. Like, it scares the heck out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
the other fear I have is like windows at night. I hate looking out the window at night, thinking there's gonna be something standing there.
Right.
Person.
That's from my experiences.
Well, and I want to ask that too, Robert. Like, I want to know like how you got into this as
Yeah.
well.
So what we
Yeah.
can do is,
I'll let Mike
I'll-
finish first.
yeah, I'll explain, because I want to share more experiences about. I want to get, because since Robert's here only for my team, I want to explain or share with you guys how I met Robert, how Robert came about, and then he can say the rest.
All right, 2H2 first. I think we're gonna take a pause here because you know what?
And I heard my mom's voice behind me, and I just turned real quick because just out of reflex, I heard my mom's voice, and I saw my mom's head on like a very skinny, like it almost look like a puppet body.
I am getting scared. I'll never sleep
Scary.
again. I'm never gonna, I'm never gonna open up a curtain again. So we're gonna pause it here. We're gonna continue it Thursday. More scary stories on Thursday with Midnight Paranormal Society. Aye, ghost. But with that said, Worm, what are you gonna say?
El cucuy. Call MPS.
If you think there's a cucuy, call MPS for sure. With that said, there to be you, there to be weird. Bye.